St. Anne's Residential School operated in Fort Albany in the James Bay Treaty region for most of the last century. And with a terrible discovery in Kamloops of the remains of 215 children, what happened there is under new scrutiny, in addition to long-standing litigation that's still unresolved. Our Northeastern Ontario Hub journalist Nick Dunne has been looking into that, and he joins us now from Sudbury. Hey, Nick.
Hi, Jan.
All right, so let's start by going back a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about St. Anne's history?
Well, as you said, St. Anne's operated between 1902 and 1976, in part by the Oblates of Mary Immaculate, same Catholic order that ran the Kamloops School. So it was widely considered to be one of the worst residential schools in this country. In one court decision that I talk about, Justice Paul Perel says, some of the worst acts in the residential school system had occurred at this school. So it is a site of a lot of pain for the whole James Bay community.
Now, for your latest for TVO.org, you've written a pretty detailed timeline on the legal process that's been going on between the Canadian government and the survivors there over compensation. How did the legal case get started in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, kind of in the early 2000s, there were a whole series of civil cases being brought up by residential school survivors. And this led in 2006 to the creation of the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement. This was done by the federal government, the Assembly of First Nations, Council for Survivors, and various church organizations. Over 38,000 people applied to its various settlement processes, and over $3 billion were doled out. It was the largest settlement in Canadian history.
And now, was St. Anne's included in that compensation? Because I understand as well, the Ontario Provincial Police also did an investigation in the early 90s as well.
Yes. So between 1992 and 1997, there was an OPP investigation into the abuses at St. Anne's. Over 700 people had left some kind of written testimony or oral testimony. It led to the conviction of 6 people, former staff at that school. Now, going fast forward now to 2007, the process begins for compensation. And among the things that these compensation claims involved were what they called school narratives and person of interest reports. These were reports created by the federal government to effectively summarize any allegations or convictions of abuse that had happened at this school. And it wasn't until 2012 that it was discovered by one of the survivors' lawyers that these OPP records, the investigations, over 12,000 pages of testimony, records, filings, and documents weren't included in those key evidentiary documents that adjudicators could review in their claims. So there were well over 160 people who went through those claims without actually having that evidence.
Now, what sort of happened with those OPP documents? I know there's sort of a back and forth with the federal government and the lawyers here. So what do we know about that so far?
Right. So there was a 2014 decision that compelled Canada to produce the documents. It got handed over. They were handed over very loosely, according to court documents. Very redacted. 2015, another court decision was made to unredact those documents for adjudicators, as well as update those narrative and person of interest reports. And they were updated for claimants whose cases were still ongoing. But for those who weren't resolved, or who had been resolved, rather, they've been trying through various means to get those documents to see if they can reassess their claims. But they allege that they have not been able to. And that takes us to 2020, when there was a request by Edmund Matadawabin, former chief of Fort Albany, who's been kind of leading the Survivors Association there. He filed effectively a claim saying that the 166 people whose claims were processed without this evidence should be able to have their claims reheard. And that's what's been going on ever since.
Now, earlier this month, the House of Commons voted on a motion for the government to end this court battle with survivors. What happened there, and where are we at with that so far?
Yeah, so that was on June 7th. It requested a number of things following various various Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action, ending various litigations with First Nations children and survivors, including St. Anne's. They specifically name that association, and they basically asked the federal government to sit down with the Petabec-Keway-Kekewin Association, which is the St. Anne Survivors Association, to end this case, or to find some kind of resolution to it, perhaps outside of court or what have you. Yeah, so that's ongoing. The federal government submitted a progress report on Thursday, effectively laying out, what they've been doing what they've been doing in response, rather, to that motion that the NDP put forward. It has to still be checked over by the Indigenous Affairs Committee within Parliament, but they have submitted that report for the committee.
For your article, you spoke to a lawyer for some insight. What did they have to say about this legal case moving forward?
So I spoke with Jennifer Leach. She's a visiting professor at Osgoode Hall. So she basically said, and her whole article focuses on the conduct and approach government lawyers took in this whole proceeding. And she's following up with another article. I think she described it as a war, the tactics that were being used here, talking about when they had to give these OPP documents over to the Council of Survivors, they were very loose, and she said that's a legal no-no, and that, I think she points out that this process was intended for reconciliation and to, acknowledge, what had happened in these schools, particularly at St. Anne's, which is, especially notable in its abuse of children and the way it has affected that region to this day. I think she says that, obviously there's an obligation for government lawyers to be defending the government. However, at a certain point, perhaps, she suggests that, in the spirit of reconciliation, in light of, what happened at this school, that, the government should ease up and perhaps, come to a settlement.
Something that we will definitely keep a close eye on. Thank you very much, Nick, for this.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.